You can execute a flawless internal audit, satisfy every external auditor, and still watch your company suffer a catastrophic operational collapse. This failure happens because of a mismatch between risk and effort. It occurs when a company tracks the wrong metrics with perfect precision. Every internal audit team operates with a finite pool of time, budget, and manpower. This is your audit capital. Deploying this finite capital into the wrong departments leaves high-impact threats completely unmonitored. In this briefing, we will dismantle standard industry scoping practices and provide a strategic framework to reallocate your resources directly to your true operational vulnerabilities. Relying on a flawless audit executed in the wrong department provides a false sense of security. It shields you from scrutiny on paper, while leaving your bottom line entirely exposed in reality. Standard corporate audit capital is notoriously heavily concentrated. The vast majority of time and budget flows directly into financial reporting, taxation, and treasury. This concentration stems from a common industry assumption that aligning your internal audit scope with the priorities of your external auditors guarantees comprehensive risk coverage. This heat map reveals a major flaw. Red saturation dominates financial nodes already secured by automated ERP controls. Pumping finite resources here yields diminishing returns, creating massive blind spots. While capital drains into financial double-checking, high-risk nodes like supply chain, maintenance, and production remain entirely unmapped. This alignment is an active, systemic drain on corporate governance. It directs your best defensive assets inward, leaving the volatile frontier of your business undefended. By blindly tracking external auditor priorities, internal teams step into the external auditor trap. They enter a cycle of low-risk redundancy and ignore the operational centers where failure actually occurs. The cycle of redundancy reaches its peak during compliance seasons, paralyzing teams with repetitive oversight. This cyclical flowchart shows internal financial controls, external audits, and internal audits converging into a massive overlapping redundancy, ERP automated controls. Constantly verifying this overlap results in identical tests, identical sampling, and a vast waste of skilled manpower. These financial centers are highly automated and mathematically predictable. Operational centers, by contrast, are volatile, human-driven, and highly susceptible to sudden friction. Internal audit functions must actively pivot resources. You have to move away from redundant financial reviews and redirect that capital toward the areas where real operational friction occurs. Functions like supply chain and production require human-led risk mapping. Automated ERP controls cannot inspect a failing warehouse protocol or negotiate a compromised vendor supply line. Executives frequently push back, arguing that shifting focus away from finance feels like guesswork. The solution is migrating to a highly structured execution workbench. Escaping the redundancy trap requires a reconfiguration of the audit focus, moving from checking automated financial boxes to actively hunting operational vulnerabilities. The COSO framework is a three-dimensional matrix. The top dimension outlines objectives: operations, reporting, compliance. The side dimension maps entity structure, from corporate level down to granular functions. The front dimension represents components of internal control, detailing risk assessment and specific control activities. You build your new audit universe by finding exact intersections across these three dimensions. Guesswork is eliminated. We intersect an objective, compliance, with a function, procurement, and a component, control activities. This glowing block represents a single derived auditable entity. Targeting it focuses capital on operational mechanics, bypassing redundant overlaps. Systematically plotting these blocks creates a risk-scored execution workbench. The rule of this new universe is absolute. If a department, IT system, or third-party vendor is not plotted, it does not get audited. And that unmapped territory is exactly where vulnerabilities breed. The COSO matrix replaces intuition with architectural certainty. It ensures that every critical operational risk is mapped, scored, and targeted for review. This framework relies on three pillars to operate: the audit universe, historical audit reports, and your organization's risk appetite card. The risk appetite card calibrates the sensitivity of the entire governance matrix, dictating how much friction the business is willing to tolerate before an audit is triggered. However, Even the most precisely derived COSO matrix will fail the moment it is treated as a static document. This dynamic node network demonstrates disruption. Live data from changing government schemes or new technologies forces the system to reprioritize. Aggressive mergers and acquisitions inject new, high-priority risk clusters. You must actively add scope lines, like ERP system mergers or SOP integrations. These continuous internal and external inputs actively mandate periodic revisions of your audit universe and overall risk scope. A rigid static audit hierarchy will fracture under the weight of new data. A dynamic framework absorbs that data and recalibrates. In modern governance, risk is a moving target. Only a dynamic audit architecture can actively absorb strategic shifts fast enough to prevent a sudden, catastrophic vulnerability. When a C-suite implements a dynamic internal audit framework, the operational reality of the business changes. Capital previously locked in redundant financial reporting is liberated, allowing resources to be distributed according to actual risk levels across the entire entity. Instead of looking backward at historical data, the optimized framework operates like this digital shield. It actively defends your business, continuously adapting to incoming threats. Resources are strictly limited for any company, regardless of scale. Optimization is required to maintain effective oversight within that limited bandwidth. Managing this architecture is not merely a task delegated to internal auditors. It is a strategic mandate for founders, audit committees, and the executive board. Strategically allocating capital to operational friction separates resilient companies from those blindsided by disruption. Mastering these frameworks and successfully implementing them within your own organization requires a comprehensive guide to the strategy. To assist in that execution, look for our upcoming release, An Entrepreneur's Guide to Corporate Governance, Risk Management. This text serves as an operational guide for leaders intent on building unshakable, mathematically sound business controls. Before you approve another standard audit plan, I challenge you to examine your own current practices. When was your audit universe, scope, and risk policy last revised? If your resources are currently trapped in redundant cycles and you need to restructure your approach, write to us at the email provided for a comprehensive study and groundwork assistance. True corporate vigilance requires constant structural evolution. Stop auditing blind and partner with RiskVigilantBharat to build a truly efficient internal audit framework.